DyeCoo offers its water and chemical-free dyeing solution on industrial and lab scale. The LabDye equipment is suitable for R&D activities, testing new fabric types, and allows us to develop branded and custom colors for industrial applications. To dye with CO2 on a small scale, it starts by rolling a small sample of fabric on our custom dye beam. DyeCoo's unique CO2 process ensures a very high dyeing efficacy, minimizing the consumption of dye stuff required. The CO2 dyeing process uses 100% pure dyes without adding any process chemicals and delivers 98% of the dyes straight to the fabric. The carefully weighed pure dye stuff is added to the cylinder, as well as 8 steel bearings to generate the CO2 flow. Next, the sample fabric is placed in the cylinder and closed by hand. To ensure that the right amount of CO2 is added, the cylinder is weighed before being cooled for 15 minutes. The reason for cooling the cylinder is to ensure that the CO2 will flow easily from the gas storage cylinder into the sample cylinder. After cooling, the right amount of CO2 is added via the needle valve and closed manually. The dyeing process takes place in an oil bath at a temperature of 120 degrees Celsius. During the temperature rise, pressure builds up within the cylinder up to 250 bar, transforming the CO2 from a gas phase to the supercritical phase, allowing the dye stuff to dissolve naturally. Because CO2 and synthetic fibers have such a natural affinity with each other, the dye stuff is easily transported into the fibers. After 90 minutes, the cylinder is taken out of the oil bath and rinsed to remove any residues. Dry and dyed textile emerges from the LabDye equipment without using any process chemicals or water. During this small-scale process, it is clearly visible that no waste has been generated. DyeCoo and its customers use this small-scale CO2 process for R&D purposes and application development. DyeCoo's LabDye equipment offers an easy, affordable and scalable way to get acquainted with the unlimited possibilities of CO2 textile processing.